Hudson, New Hampshire, cradled between verdant knolls and silver-threaded streams, had long been a haven of ordinary lives. But beneath the veneer of its seemingly benign normality, a malignant unease slithered, uncoiling in the heart of its bustling epicenter, the local mall. Within the sanctity of his modest abode, furnished in the austerity of time-worn leather and walnut, brooded Samuel Hawks, a man of well-earned wrinkles and eyes harboring a depth most found too daunting to fathom. His gaze, underlined by a pensive wrinkle, found solace in the monotone dance of raindrops on his windowpane. Each droplet was a moment in time, unique yet transient, much like the siblings he had once held close to his heart. Their loss, an open wound gouged by the claws of fate, painted him in shades of solitude. Yet there was no fragility in his solitude. It was a chosen armor, a shield against the vulnerability of his past. A sharp rap on the door stopped his melancholic reverie. On his doorstep stood the Worthingtons, the epitome of average Hudson denizens. A man in his mid-40s, his hairline receding in synchrony with his vitality. A woman of equal age, her beauty matured by time, and a daughter, her youthful glow tinged with unspoken dread. They brought with them a tale that would unsettle the stoic composure of the experienced detective. "Mr. Hawks," the man began, his voice trembling like autumn leaves under a cold breeze, "we've been subjected to an eerie blackmail. It's about the mall." The air between them seemed to congeal, growing heavier with each shared glance. The mall, the pulsating heart of Hudson, a beacon of commerce and community, now a stage for an ominous play. Samuel could almost taste the undercurrent of fear hidden behind their curt sentences and veiled eyes. It was a flavor he had become accustomed to, the subtle taste of a mystery about to unravel. He nodded solemnly, his gaze steady and understanding. "Tell me everything. Every detail matters." His words were not a mere reassurance, but a vow, a pact sealed in the silence of his Spartan living room. The Worthingtons, desperate for solace, began to weave their story under his attentive gaze, sowing the seeds of a cosmic enigma. As the Worthingtons recounted their tale, Samuel's eyes began to glint with a renewed purpose. A resonance flickered within him, whispering echoes of his tragic past. The edges of normality were fraying, revealing a tapestry of terror woven in the warp and weft of Hudson's tranquility. This was no ordinary investigation. The whispers of the past and the cries of the present were merging into a cacophony that promised to drown the town in a sea of dread. As the Worthingtons departed, leaving behind a trail of tangible fear, Samuel found himself standing on the precipice of the unknown, staring into an abyss of cosmic proportions, ready to dive headfirst into the heart of darkness. A symphony of morning chatter surrounded the Hudson Mall, its concrete countenance stark against the dawning crimson sky. Yet within the labyrinthine passages of this edifice, an insidious quietude thrived. Samuel Hawks, the lone sentinel against the encroaching tide of fear, was poised at the threshold of these silent hallways. His keen gaze, hardened by the crucible of his past, danced over the mundane storefronts, tracing the ordinary and unearthing the extraordinary. Navigating through the sea of shoppers, he began his quest. His interaction with the shopkeepers, coated with pleasantries, belied the gravitas of his purpose. He listened intently, catching the tremors of anxiety that seeped through their rehearsed cordiality, and observed the paranoia that lurked within the mall's deceptive vibrancy. In the heart of the mall, within the fragrant sanctuary of the cafe, he found his next clue. Clara, a silver-haired waitress with a disposition as warm as the cinnamon-infused air around her, seemed a repository of local lore. Her eyes, framed by countless laughter lines, held an ocean of stories. "Mr. Hawks," Clara began, her voice a whispered sigh, "the mall's not been the same lately. At nights there are whispers. I know it sounds foolish, but they feel wrong. Wrong." That simple word hung heavily between them, a symbol of the unexplainable that lingered within the mall's shadows. The notion of voices, ethereal and foreboding, rattled the foundations of his reality, adding a new layer to the mystery. The unseen strings of this cosmic puppet show were beginning to quiver. Days passed into nights, and with every passing hour, the sinister mosaic of the mall started coming together in his mind. He painstakingly cataloged every nervous glance, every stuttered secret, and every trembling whisper, weaving them into a tapestry of unseen terror. Yet a missing piece still eluded him, a piece hidden within the mall's ominous bowels. As night draped its obsidian cloak over Hudson, he found himself drawn towards the abandoned wing of the mall. A place forgotten by time, its desolate corridors echoed with an eerie silence. Under the feeble flicker of dying lights, the gloomy passageway seemed less a part of the town's cheerful heart and more an artery leading to a macabre reality. It was here that he came face to face with the uncanny. A door, unremarkable and coated in layers of dust and neglect, stood at the end of the hallway. As he reached out, the cold, grimy surface seemed to pulse under his fingertips, as if alive. As the door creaked open, a whirlwind of otherworldly energy erupted from within, sending a frigid gust down the corridor. It felt like a sigh, a whisper of cosmic proportions, hinting at an otherworldly presence. The sight that greeted him was enigmatic. An intricate array of symbols, foreign and unsettling, was etched into the room's walls. Amidst these cryptic inscriptions, a singular motif stood out, a void surrounded by sinewy tendrils, an omen of an unfathomable abyss. The unveiling of this unholy sanctum marked the end of normality and the birth of a dread-infused reality. As the disquieting truth dawned upon him, he stood amidst the painted chaos, caught in the invisible threads of an interdimensional plot. The stage was set for an unfathomable voyage into the cosmic abyss that loomed over the otherwise tranquil town of Hudson. An unspoken truth hung heavily in the stale air of the symbol-adorned room, its whispers permeating the cold, concrete, and dusty atmosphere. The malevolent graffiti was more than mere vandalism. It was a testament to the unthinkable reality that was slowly seeping into Hudson. As Samuel stood, swallowed by the eerie silence, he felt an insidious shiver crawl up his spine. This was no ordinary chamber. It was a portal, a cosmic stage where the mundane met the monstrous. It was here, within this cryptic sanctuary, that the dark tendrils of a foreign dimension curled and unfurled, reaching out to the unsuspecting denizens of the town. Each symbol, each alien glyph, was a piece of the jigsaw that he sought to assemble. The void in the center was an abyss that gazed back at him, its inky depths a mirror reflecting a reality far removed from his own. The tendrils were extensions of that abyss, not mere spectators but puppeteers pulling at the strings of the unsuspecting townsfolk, bending them to their whims. Days blurred into nights as he found himself ensnared in his relentless quest for understanding. His domicile, once a sanctuary of solitude, now resembled a war room, papers strewn about like fallen soldiers, each holding cryptic ciphers and frantic notes. He cross-referenced ancient tomes and obscure manuscripts, seeking patterns and connections, allowing his open mind to digest the indigestible. A breakthrough came in the form of an old weathered book titled Liber Abysmi, its pages yellowed by time and content warped by esoteric knowledge. The descriptions of interdimensional beings, entities that fed off fear and emotional vulnerability, resonated with the uncanny events at the Hudson Mall. Their methodology, the whispers in the night, the strange occurrences, the insidious blackmail, all were mere tools in their game of cosmic manipulation. A confrontation with Clara, the insightful cafe waitress, confirmed his findings. Her whisper of the mall's nightly murmurs had led him down this rabbit hole, and it was her revelation that solidified his theory. "Mr. Hawks," she confessed, her voice trembling like a wounded bird, "the whispers, they ain't just sounds. They're voices, and they know things no one else should." Her admission painted a ghastly picture. The entities were not just invaders. They were puppet masters from an unfathomable dimension, their invisible threads pulling the people of Hudson into a vile dance of fear and manipulation. The story of the Worthingtons was no isolated incident. It was an insidious pattern, a cosmic stratagem. The revelations were an uncanny blend of terror and understanding. He was no longer a mere spectator. He had become a warrior in this cosmic chessboard. His thirst for revenge against the unseen architects of his town's plight had been replaced by a deeper drive, a desire to become the beacon that guided Hudson out of the dark. As the realization of the impending confrontation set in, he found himself standing at the precipice of an epic struggle. The abyss with its cosmic horrors beckoned him, inviting him to descend further into the heart of darkness. A war was brewing, a clash between human resilience and interdimensional monstrosities. The stage was set, and he was ready to face the symphony of terror that awaited. As the moon rose in the indigo canvas of the night sky, casting an ethereal glow over Hudson, Samuel Hawke stood before the spectral edifice of the mall, its imposing facade a stark reminder of the unseen terrors within. This was the stage of his final stand, the battlefield where the boundaries of reality would blur and the cosmic nightmare would be confronted. His solitude was palpable, yet his spirit remained indomitable. His mind, a whirlpool of grim determination and raw fear, held a single unwavering goal: to sever the invisible threads that bound his town to a monstrous reality. This was not just his duty, it was his destiny, a cause he had unknowingly been preparing for throughout his life. The deserted corridors of the mall were an echo chamber of fear and anticipation. As he ventured deeper into its bowels, the alien symbols on the walls pulsed with an eerie luminescence, casting grotesque shadows that danced to an unseen rhythm. In the heart of this maze, the door to the abandoned wing stood ajar, an unspoken invitation to the otherworldly realm within. As Samuel crossed the threshold, the air around him seemed to ripple and undulate. The whispers Clara had described were there, their murmurs an alien symphony that drilled into his psyche. They were the voice of the abyss, words from a dark realm woven into the tapestry of his reality. His confrontation with the cosmic puppeteers was imminent. Fear gnawed at the edges of his courage, but his resolve stood firm. The echoes of his past, the sorrowful memory of his siblings' loss, fueled his determination. This was his fight, his revenge against the unseen forces that toyed with human lives. With the Liber Abysmi clutched firmly in his hand and an invocation on his lips, Samuel began his recitation. The arcane words twisted and twined in the dense air, their resonance disturbing the spectral tranquility of the room. Each syllable was a challenge, a human defiance against the cosmic oppressors. As the final words echoed through the room, reality seemed to shiver, and the void depicted on the wall began to undulate, as if acknowledging his audacity. Then chaos erupted. The room convulsed as the denizens of the abyss emerged, their forms a grotesque mockery of the natural order. They surrounded him, their presence a dreadful symphony of whispers and undulating shadows. Yet amidst this terrifying spectacle, he stood his ground, a beacon of humanity's resilience in the face of unimaginable horror. The confrontation was fierce, a cosmic battle that transcended the boundaries of understanding. Samuel, armed with his resolve and the power of his incantations, waged war on the invaders, struggling to push back the encroaching tide of darkness. As the battle wore on, however, it became increasingly apparent that the cost of victory would be steep. His strength waned, his voice faltered, but his spirit remained unbroken. In his final act of defiance, he mustered the last of his energy and let out a powerful incantation, a cosmic plea woven into an ancient language. With this last cry, a blinding light filled the room, a brilliant flash that seemed to burn away the grotesque shadows. Samuel, at the epicenter of this eruption, felt his life force ebbing away. As he sank to the floor, his vision fading, he knew his end was near. Yet there was no dread in his heart, only a tranquil acceptance. His final thoughts were of his siblings, their faces a beacon of love amidst the encroaching darkness. He had fulfilled his purpose and stood against the cosmic horror, protecting his town and avenging his loss. As the life slipped from his body, he made his final stand against the cosmic horrors, a solitary sentinel who dared to gaze into the abyss and force it to blink. We appreciate you tuning in. If you fancied the content, show your support with a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to keep up with our eerie adventures. Eldritch Tales Factory has plenty more to offer. Until next time.